Do you ever think about how weird Event Loomians are? Like, seriously. Event Loomians now make up for about 25% of the total Loomian count, yet they're only available for a short few weeks every year, and that's just crazy to me. If only a couple Loomians were like this, then it would be annoying, but it'd probably be okay. But 77 Loomians are now like this, and I think that's a pretty major problem. What I think is worse is that they've started using some Event Loomians for trainer battles in the main story. For optional trainers like Brown, I guess that's fine, but when you put the Sweet Retreat Loomians in mandatory battles, that's just annoying, like, don't do that! So how do we go about fixing this? Well, the best way would have just been to not make them event exclusive in the first place, but the second best option is to find places that would fit into the main adventure, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Let's take a look at every Event Loomian and find a place where they can be added into the main adventure. Also, if you end up enjoying this video, you can show your support by subscribing, and at 2,000 subscribers I'll be doing a ranking of every single Loomian in the game. It's gonna be hella to make, but I promised I'd do it. Anyways, let's get on to the video. Let's start off by talking about the biggest group of Event Loomians, which are the Sweet Retreat Loomians. This includes the Cupwink, Mochibi, Gwyrm, Cinnaboo, Swirl, Swishy, Bunpuff, Dragdus, Banu, Nimue, and Nemesis lines, as well as a Sweets variant Fancub line. And with that, we have already run into a problem. So the entire thing with these Loomians is that the chefs at the Sweet Retreat decided to add soul crystals to their food one day, and that's what turned the food into Loomians. So since the Loomians are only being created at the Sweet Retreat with the specific food they make there, it wouldn't really make that much sense for these Loomians to be found anywhere but the Sweet Retreat. So how do we solve this lore-based conundrum? Well, just make the Sweet Retreat a location in the main adventure. I'm sure some people would probably be upset by this, but it's not like it's tied to a real-life holiday or anything, so I think it'll be fine. In regards to where it should be placed, the small bit of the outside you can see past the front desk doesn't really look like any of the existing areas, so I feel like making it a side area accessible via the train would work pretty well. I imagine that it probably wouldn't be available immediately, and would need to get some sort of special ticket to get to it. Let's just say you get it from a side quest or something. Just by adding this to the main adventure, which realistically I don't think should take that much effort, we get a decently big side area with its own minigame, a bunch of items, and 23 Loomians, as well as one form, which are now available in the main adventure. I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty good idea. Plus, if they still really wanted to do another Sweet Retreat event after that, they could just throw a few reskins here for a bit. Also, I forgot to add this earlier, but the Soulburst Hoganosh raid would also be here instead of in any of the Haloine areas, because that just makes way more sense. Now let's move on to the other event area which I think should be opened up all year, which is the Loomunity Park. I really like this area, so it's such a shame that it's only open for about a month every year. It also doesn't really make that much sense as to why it's only open for that short time. Like, sure, it's used to celebrate the game's anniversary every year, but like, it's just a park, guys, come on. Making the park be open all year round would make the Seekaloot, Gosswing, Nuchiki, and Solnectar lines permanently available. That's only 7 Loomians compared to the Sweet Retreat's 23, but that's still like 2.5% of the Lumipedia. That's pretty significant, I think. I still do think the Loomunity event should be held here though. It just kind of makes sense at this point, and there's no real problem with putting some reskins here for a bit, like with the Sweet Retreat. As for where the park would be though, that's kinda hard for me to give a good answer for. Right past the entrance there's a big stone wall for some reason, so there's not even a good suggestion of where it could connect up to. So realistically, I guess it could go anywhere, however I'm not really sure there's a good spot for it right now. The terrain looks pretty similar to the terrain at the bottom of Route 9, so I guess it could go there, but it would be really weird having a summer themed park at the bottom of a snowy route. If we got an area that's kind of similar to Brick Bronze's Cosmos Valley eventually, that would be a pretty good place to put it, but for now, yeah, just make it a train destination, I guess. That's kind of annoying, and I didn't want to have multiple of those, but oh well, just put it there. And quickly before I move on, I just wanted to touch on Tennis Tag. By adding the Loomunity Park to the main adventure, it would make Tennis Tag available all year round, and I don't think we should get rid of that, but I think it would be cool if we added like mini events to that. For example, on specific days of every month you could earn more tennis tickets from playing, or Soulflowers could appear more on the court. I don't think it would be any massive bonuses obviously, but it would be a nice little bit of incentive to come back to the game a bit more often. Something that I intentionally excluded from the Loomunity Park section was Cosmeor and the Meteor Shower weather, and that is because I wanted to talk about it and the Egg Rain weather together. I think that both of these weathers should just be added to the regular weather rotation. Lore-wise, I don't really think there's a reason for either of these to be event exclusive, like they just happen very rarely. Honestly, just turning these into rare weathers that appear like once a day or something would be pretty cool, and it would probably make more sense instead of them like constantly happening in one specific spot for an entire month. I think that meteor showers are pretty much fine as is, but I want to change around egg rain a bit. First off, I'll give Kyago a final brand new set of reskins that are available all year round instead of giving it a new set every year. Giving them new reskins every year works in the context of it being an annual event, but it doesn't really work when it's available permanently, I don't think. I'd also keep the shop on Route 6. It's a bit of a weird spot to be in, but I don't know, I kinda like it just being randomly here. The raids can also stay, but personally I'd make it so that the normal mode is the regular Dragodine raid, and then the nightmare is the soul-burst one. And while we're at it, evolve at level 37 in Egg Rain, please! I've always hated that the Kyago line is the only Weather Loomian that can evolve that doesn't evolve into its final stage at level 37 in their respective weather. It's such a minor nitpick, and I'm certain that no one else cares, but it's annoying to me, so I'm using this opportunity to address it. And for the Fractured Crown item, that will be made pretty much redundant with this change, so I don't care, go retire them like TP resets because I'm evil and I hate them. Okay, but actually I'm happy with all these changes now, and it makes another 4 Loomians available in the main adventure, so yay! With those 4 events out of the way, we're on to the more heavy hitter events, Halloween and Christmas. I'll be covering Halloween first since in the year it's chronologically first. Halloween has 19 Loomians to its name, those being the Spirivi, Volpup, Impkin, Mirami, Spearwix, Griefstone, Metronet, Nevermare, Gargolem, and Odayaga lines, as well as the Halloween variant Kabunga. Unlike the last few events where I just added the event areas to the main adventure, I'm going to be distributing these Loomians throughout the currently existing areas with a few exceptions. I'm doing this for a few reasons, with one of those being that there's 4 separate Halloween areas that are all nightmares that you can travel inside of, and 2 of them are collabs with other events, so that just kind of makes everything weird and messy. The exception that I'll be making is that I'm going to be putting all of the Halloween roaming Loomians into their own little mini nightmares. There's probably a good place to put them in the main game already, but I think doing this would work pretty nicely too. The way I'd have it work is kind of similar to how you get the legendary birds in Brick Bronze. Various odd items could be found around the region, and showing them to Dr. Halloween would remind him of a previous nightmare he had with the Loomian. He lets you go inside and try to stop it, and then after completing a small puzzle or something of the sort, you can battle and catch the roamer haunting his dreams. There'd also be a secret 5th nightmare accessible after catching Metronet, which would pretty much just be the soul burst raid for it. Halloween Kabunga are also wild encounters in these nightmares, and they have a chance to hold nightmare orbs, because honestly I can't think of anywhere to put them and I just forgot. Anyways, like I said before, I'm going to be placing the rest of the Halloween Loomians at various locations in the main adventure. So let's start with Spirivi. I think probably the best place to put it would be in this game's version of Brick Bronze's Route 18, but that does not currently exist and might not ever exist in this version of Roria, so we have to compromise. To me, the most sensible place to put it is in Gale Forest. Its Lumipedia entry states that it often can be found in dark and secluded forests, and I don't know about you, but I feel like Gale Forest meets that description pretty well. Also, this place is already chock full of bug types, so it'd fit right in. Actually, if you added Spirivi and it was either raining or thunderstorming, this place could have 8 different bug type Loomians in its encounter table. Neat. Volpup is really annoying to me because I feel like there should already be a really good spot for it somewhere, but there just isn't. The only place I can think to put it on is in Route 3 as a night encounter because 1, it's an electric type, and 2, its Lumipedia entry states it often hunts in packs at night. But I don't know, it just doesn't really feel like it fits well there. There's literally nowhere else I can think to put it though, so oh well, it's going there. Impkin is a bit hard to find a good place for, since you can't really just place it somewhere with the traditional wild grass encounter method. Every time it's come back, it's only been able to be found by jumping out of item boxes, so I wanted to kinda keep that element of it. What I came up with would probably be really jank, but I think it might be able to work. Just make item boxes be able to spawn randomly, like a surprise. On every route at nighttime, random shaking item boxes could have a chance to appear out of thin air, and kicking them open could just give you like a regular item, or it could be an Impkin encounter. These boxes would probably only spawn in certain spots like how Tariti spawns to prevent them from potentially blocking the path or anything, and it would probably end up being similar to how Icicle spawned in the 2019 Christmas event, but honestly that was pretty cool, so I don't mind semi-bringing the idea back. Mirami is a bit of an interesting case because I have 2 different places that it could potentially be put in, but neither of them are really perfect. The first place is just in the Sephirite junkyard, and this is pretty much only because it's a broken mirror that will get thrown away, and there's a bunch of junk here. It doesn't really fit with the theming of the area though, like robot, cockroach, mirror ghost? The The second place it could go could probably make a bit more sense, and that's in Highway Village as a Yokai Loomian. For one, I feel like Mirami kinda fits in with the other Yokai Loomians there. It's a pretty common object, and I'm sure it could disguise itself as a regular mirror if it wanted to. In addition to that though, it kinda already is a Yokai Loomian. Okay, so a couple of months ago I was just scrolling around the internet and I randomly stumbled into the ArtStation account of Onigiri Tsuki, who is one of the 3D modelers for Loomian Legacy. A bunch of models of Loomians that they worked on were uploaded there, including the Yokai Loomians, and would you look at who also got included with them? Unless we get someone saying otherwise, I'm saying that Mirami is a Yokai Loomian and it's gonna be going here. Though if we're doing this, I'll change Mirami to be a pure spirit type and then it'll gain metal when it evolves, because all of the other Yokai Loomians start out monotype and then they gain a secondary type when they evolve. Also, as a side note, I implore everyone to go check out Onigiri Tsuki's ArtStation account. It's just so cool to see all of these high quality renders of Loomians, and also how weird Summer Memorial looks T-posing. They gave him extra arms for this reskin, like what? Finally, Spearwix and Gravestone are both pretty easy to place. I think they both fit in pretty well at the Highway Cemetery. Gravestone just kinda makes sense to be there because it itself is a gravestone and it's in a graveyard. And while this doesn't happen everywhere, there's some parts of the world where candles are lit at graveyards and then placed near graves, so I guess that could justify why all of the Spearwix are chilling there after people invented light bulbs. Actually, that's like really sad. Imagine abandoning your dog on the side of the road because you got a copy of Nintendogs. Like, why are people in Loomian Legacy a few hundred years ago just straight up evil? Now we're on to the final batch of Event Loomians, the Christmas Loomians. There's actually a few more Christmas Loomians than Halloween Loomians, which is a bit weird because the devs have said that Halloween is their favorite event to work on. Anyways, Christmas has 23 Loomians to its name, those being the Icicle, Snowall, Mistlebud, Cryocub, Leopold, Cayute, Jimby, Wassel, Wabalisk, Akalos, Celesting, Mimask, and Grimuline lines, as well as the Christmas variant Kratel. Snowall is actually a Loomian that I'm pretty confident wasn't meant to be an event Loomian and just got added as one so it could be in the game way earlier. I believe that Snowall was originally supposed to be a weather Loomian for a snowstorm weather type, or just snow weather type. There's a couple of reasons that I have for believing this. One of those is that its Lumipedia entry states that all of the members of its line have connections to snowstorms and blizzards, either benefiting from them or causing them. This wouldn't be the first time a weather is caused by a Loomian either, but the strongest piece of evidence that I have is the line's evolution methods. Snowall evolves into Stricycle at level 23, and then into Windtrix at 37 if it's leveled up in a Christmas event location. If you change Stricycle's evolution method from level 37 in a Christmas event area to level 37 in a snowstorm, then the line just so happens to have exactly the same evolution method as all of the other non-Dragodine Weather Loomians. Coincidence? I think not! After Snowall, we've immediately run into a major problem with all the ice types. The main adventure so far has had pretty much no areas that make sense to have ice types in them, so there's currently literally one wild ice type. The upcoming Route 9 update will finally be addressing that by adding a new snowy route full of ice-type Loomians, and I feel like that's probably the best place to put most of these guys. In the teasers, they said that Route 9 will be the largest route in the game so far, both Loomian count-wise and actual size-wise, so there will seemingly be a couple different mini-areas, and with that I'm going to work under the assumption that different segments of Route 9 will have different encounter tables, kind of like how there's the regular Aranata Trench encounter table, and then the Cave Aranata Trench encounter table. Cryocub and Wassel will both be found at the bottom of the route. Neither of them really come off as Loomians that would do too well living high up on a mountain. Wassel's short legs would make it really hard to climb up the mountain, so it would probably prefer to stay on flatter ground. And there's just way more trees in the bottom of the route, which I think Cryocub would want because its evolution just destroys acres of trees. Jesus, how do we have any forest left if they're just doing that all the time? Mistlebud and the Christmas variant Kratel will both be found in the areas surrounding Hearthpine Village. Some of the more Christmas-themed Loomians being found around people, I kinda think that just makes sense. Finally for Route 9, Cayute and Jimby will both be found somewhere around the peak of the route close to Frostvale City. Both of these Loomians typically have at least some sort of involvement with humans, with Jimby being a Christmas caroler and Cayute's line literally being Krampus and like stealing kids. So I imagine that both want to hang out around where people are. For Icicle, I'm going to be a bit boring and somewhat bring back its original encounter method. Around Frostvale City, I'm going to put a bunch of presents that will spawn in, and some of them will actually be Icicles in disguise. I'm realizing this is pretty much the exact same thing I did for Impkin's new encounter method, but honestly, I don't really care if it means we can make Route 9's encounter tables a bit less bloated. I guess we could also have the Soul Burst raid here too, but I kind of think it would be funny if you just get the Isoburst from a present. And finally we have the Christmas roaming Loomians, and unfortunately if we want to include all of them, then Route 9 and Frostville City are going to be extremely bloated in the roamings department. There's nothing I can really do about that though, so I created a couple ideas for little side quests we can do with each of them. Starting off with Wabalisk, I think it'd be kind of funny if on Route 9 it just ran past you screaming and then turns into a roaming encounter. This feels very in character for Wabalisk to do, and it would be literally the same thing that happened at the exact same place in Brick Bronze with Latios and Latios, so it could be like a cute little reference, alternate dimension parallel thing. Achelos is probably the hardest Christmas roamer for me to figure out what to do with. I feel like I've come up with an idea that could work pretty well, but it also entirely relies on my prediction that there will be an ice fishing area somewhere on Route 9. I do feel like this is pretty much guaranteed though, considering that not only do the Snow Route and Brick Bronze have a large ice fishing area, but you can also fish up a seal Pokemon here, and Route 9 is adding a seal Loomian. Anyways, to catch Achelos you need to fish it up, but you can't just lure it out with any old fishing rod. You'd need the super bait. Yeah, that works. You'll get this bait by showing off your fishing skills to one of the fishermen nearby. They'll ask you to fish up some Loomians of specific sizes, and then after you show them a few, they'll give you the special bait. Using this bait in one of the ice fishing spots would lure out Achelos, and then it would enter into a fight with it and you can catch it. Celesting is next, and I'm going to be pretty much taking its original quest from the Jolly Village and repurposing it into Frostvale City. Like in the Jolly Village, you would get a staff or a Christmas tree by some means, maybe some other side quest that gives it to you, maybe just finding it somewhere, I don't know. And then putting it on the tree would help do the whole thing to summon Celesting. After it appears, it would immediately soul burst, causing a bunch of people nearby to panic about the rogue alien Loomian in the middle of town, and then you'd enter in a raid battle against it. Afterwards, the Celesting would return to its normal form, and you'll be given an opportunity to catch it, and then get its burst crystal afterwards. Meemask is next, and it's quite interesting that it's even a Christmas Loomian in my opinion, because there's not really anything that I would say is necessarily Christmas themed about it, unless I'm just missing something major in its design here. Like, it's literally just a little gremlin guy, so there's nothing that suggests it needs to live in a colder climate. And it's not even an ice type, it's just pure dark. So, if Meemask could go literally anywhere in the region due to it not being like limited by habitats it could live in, where would it probably want to go? To the place where people wear masks all the time, of course. After reaching a certain point in the game, let's just say after you get to Frostvale City for now, if you return to Highwood Village you can find Meemask lurking in the shadows behind a building. Getting too close to it will initiate a chase where you have to run all around the village and then eventually corner Meemask, which will make you able to battle and catch it. This is a pretty simple idea, but I'm honestly kind of proud of it, and I feel like it would work really well if it was actually implemented like this. It would also just be like really fun to find a really strong Loomian waiting for you when you teleport back to a random town that you visited earlier. And finally for the Christmas Loomians we have Haloine, and to make it work I'm going to have to very slightly change its lore. Its Lumipedia entry states that it's only known to the people of the Jolly Village, so I'm just going to be changing that to Hearthpine Village instead, since I don't really want to add the place that is literally just Christmas to the main adventure. Also, it stalks people who don't receive new clothes over the holidays, which is like, okay man, strange priorities. Anyways, if you talk to some of the NPCs in Hearthpine Village, they'll sometimes tell you about how at night the people in the village would sometimes see a large shadowy figure roaming around the village. If you return to the village at night, you would have a chance to see the figure lurking around behind some trees, which is obviously a Haloine. After you find it, it would run away and then it would move to another hiding spot, and this would repeat a couple of times with you pushing it closer and closer to the village each time you find it. Eventually it would just be out in the open and it would just give up in hiding and battle you. And with that, there is all of my ideas on how to add all of the Event Loomians into the main story, and therefore fix the Event Loomian problem. Obviously not all of these ideas are perfect, honestly some of them kinda suck, but if I was going to only use areas that either currently exist or going to exist in the future, I think I did a pretty good job here. I think it would be pretty great if at least some Event Loomians were actually added to the main adventure. So like, hey, if any developers are listening to this, here's some ideas, or just go make your own ideas for how you can add them to the main game. That would be great, because like, honestly, having 25% of the Loomians in the game being event exclusive is really stupid. Thank you for listening to my talk. Please subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a great day.